Hello, Internet. Good morning. I'm Ryan Ingram, and this is my brother, Will Ingram.
Hey, good morning.
And we are doing yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm really happy it's Friday as well. All right. So let's introduce this thing right. Post your questions in the chat. If you're new here, this is Friday morning real estate chat, where any questions that you have regarding real estate investing, we do our best to answer them. So Will is here, which is exciting because he's able to answer most questions better than I am. Speaking of that, let me go ahead and get this disclaimer rolling here, saying that it's not legal or professional advice, and that you should always seek professional counsel prior to taking any action. All right. Well, in the meantime, before some comments roll in, let's kind of recap our week. Currently, we have the most number of properties that we've ever had under contract. That's exciting for us. We hired a project manager that's been able to really free up a lot of both of our times. So what he does is handle all of the maintenance orders coming in, coordinates with the contractors to make any repairs, create scopes of work for all of our open rehab projects, and check in with the contractors to make sure that they have everything it is that they need in order to complete the job effectively and timely. So we currently have 26 properties under contract, and I know one of the things that people enjoy knowing or asking is where these deals came from. So I'm going to run through here and figure out the answers to that question. I think here lately, a lot of them have come from the MLS. It seems like it comes in seasons where sometimes the MLS is very competitive and it's really hard to get a discount on anything. Other times, we can throw out some pretty low offers and they're accepted. So just yesterday, we put a property under contract that was listed for $69,000. We offered $40,000 and they didn't even counter. They just accepted. So that was a really big win because, it's a good house. All right. Now, the next 13 that we have under contract, or the next 12, those are from relationships that have been fostered through just being inside of like the real estate industry. So the insurance agency that we have, pretty much 95% of our book of business is other real estate investors. So just in that, there's a lot of networking and communicating with other investors. And sometimes people reach out for insurance, and just in the way that they speak about their properties, it's clear that they really don't want them anymore. So that's, or then sometimes they just reach out and say, hey, will you buy this since you have properties? And oftentimes the answer is yes. The next one is a deal from one of our contractors. He has one rental property and he doesn't want it anymore. And then one wholesale deal. And then the next 6 are from the MLS. Another wholesale deal. And then another 4 from the MLS. So a lot of our properties are coming straight from the MLS at the moment. And those, let me look at the average purchase prices here from the MLS deals. Yeah, so the average purchase price is $47,500, and it's not a metric that I have on this spreadsheet, but I think probably the average listing price is somewhere in the 60 or 70,000. So right now, I just feel like we're in a season where you can offer on the MLS and get something for pretty cheap. Happy Friday! That always makes me chuckle when you say that. Thanks. It is Friday, and I'm very excited about it. All right. 7 minutes in, 4 people on. A little bit of a shy start.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, have you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, it's been fun being here. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, so it's fun coming up to Dayton every now and then.
To the better weather.
Yeah, better weather, no humidity. So all you Floridians, you can get your break from the humid heat down in Florida. Coming up here to the Midwest.
Probably the one time a year that weather is better in Ohio. All right, let's see here. Let me think of some lessons about real estate investing that I've learned. I did that one video where we put a property under contract because it looked really good, and then I walked it, and it was completely different than the pictures that we had shown, had been shown that were listed on the MLS. So that was pretty wild. I think I've never seen a property in such disrepair where turnkey pictures are available.
What did we end up doing with this property?
Said no. We did a hard pass.
Canceled the contract.
Yeah, told them we will not buy it. So that was interesting. So I think that, really just the importance of having someone local. If you're thinking about out of state investing or anything, just actually check out the property. And I know it's been very seldom that we've actually purchased properties never having seen it ourselves, but it's really important to walk everything. I've never experienced something quite like that.
Yeah, and this one we put under contract, or at least had the verbal offer accepted. So we essentially took it off the market and then checked it out.
Mm-hmm.
So took action first, and I think that's an important step too.
Yeah, I signed the paperwork on that one. I think, we've had a lot of wholesalers reach out to us as of late that are virtual wholesalers. So they have no real opinion of the market. They just started doing marketing here in the area. And a lot of times they've never seen the property themselves. They don't know anything about the neighborhood. They just reached out with their direct mail marketing and text message blasting and all of those things. Any people that responded that said they would sell their house, they do like a quick market analysis or comp report and try to list it this for some amount that makes them a profit. So from that regards, that's what happened in this case. So the actual wholesaler of this transaction lives in Georgia and has not actually been up to see the property. So I'm guessing what happened is the owner said that they would sell the property to the wholesalers, and he is likely the one that sent the pictures to the wholesaler of this is what this property looks like.
Maybe it's what the property used to look like.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. Before trees grew into the side of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what else before these questions start rolling in.
Yep. Occasionally we'll get a lot of questions about the refinancing of properties. And a lot of folks want to know about the BRRRR method, the BRRRR. I don't know how many R's are in there.
Yeah.
Buy, rehab, refinance, and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be helpful if you're looking to do, small scale business, maybe 1 or 2 houses a year. And what people don't realize is the time frame that it takes. So, realistically, you're not going to be able to refinance out in less than 8 months, more like 12 with most traditional lenders. So
I would say 8 months is everything going very well.
Yep.
So she does want to talk about the BRRRR method. She said you read her mind.
Yeah.
I think in order to do the BRRRR method successfully, I think I really hate calling it that, because if you own any given property for a long enough time, then you end up doing this method. So it's really just kind of like a form of real estate investing. I think the fast, that BRRRR method, kind of encompasses any possible way that you could interact with real estate. But I think the time constraints and just doing it very quickly is what gave that thing momentum. But regardless of what you want to call it, I think the thing that we go by that we think is the most important is your purchase price plus the renovation costs need to equal lesser than 75% of the after repair value.
Yeah. Just because 75% is the number that the banks will give you or the lenders on the back end. So unless you want to come out of pocket for some of the expenses, then you have to stay below 75%.
Mm-hmm.
And the BRRRR method can be great if you're looking to do 1 to 2 deals a year. But if you're looking to do more than that, then it would be extremely difficult.
Pros and cons of HELOC and cash out refinance, which is best option?
Yeah.
Ooh,
so
for you.
A cash out refinance, you've got all the cash in your hand to do, what you want to, and you're at a fixed interest rate. So a lot of people can do a 30-year term. And I mean, interest rates are really low right now. I did one investment property it was a $70,000 loan. The guy had great credit. I think at 3.5% is what I got him interest rate on. Did one in January for an investor at 2.99%.
Wow.
So yeah, rates are really low right now. So you can do the cash out refinance and get 30-year money around 3.5% on an investment property, which is pretty much just unheard of. Whereas with the line of credit, most banks will be at prime, which is 3.25% right now. Maybe even prime plus a little bit extra margin for them. And that's a variable rate. So I would also use lines of credit for short term. So you'd have to go in with a plan to refinance out or get your money back somehow within, call it 6 to 9 months, somewhere in there, maybe shorter.
Now, I know like on the commercial side, lines of credit are like renewable on an annual basis. But with the HELOCs, is there a difference there on like the terms?
I think with your personal house, there might not be a timeline on it. But I know with most banks, they'll want to look at your record every year. Like probably pull your credit and see tax returns and all that and renew your line of credit every year. I don't know if it's the same way on your personal home.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, I really think the best philosophy of acquiring properties, especially if you're going to get like a couple per year, is just doing as many Fannie Freddie government 30-year low interest loans as you possibly can, because 3.5% historically, the average rate of inflation has been 3.22% per year. And I mean, that factored in 2008 when how much money was printed in 2008?
700 billion.
700 billion. And now to handle whatever this is has been 7 or 8 trillion has been printed so far. So that's not taking whatever inflation that's going to cause into consideration. So just historically, borrowing money at 3.5%, I mean, effectively, after you factor in interest, you're effectively at like paying 0.28% interest on an annual basis. So it's as close to free money as you can possibly get.
But I mean, as far as HELOCs or cash outs, I don't know if you necessarily have to do one or the other. Maybe you can do both. Maybe you've got 2 properties. You can do a HELOC on your primary and a cash out refi on your investment property.
Uh-huh. We had a line of credit that was secured by one of our properties. It was actually the first rental that I purchased, the duplex. And we utilized it a little bit, but we ultimately refinanced because we used that HELOC to acquire an additional property. And we just ultimately converted that line of credit into a 30-year loan. So we got rid of that line of credit and just turned it into a mortgage. Do we have a reason for doing that, or it just seemed more convenient?
It was more convenient.
Yeah. All right, 10 people on. Any sort of real estate questions that you have, just go ahead and post those in the chat, and we'll answer them. I thought a loan officer told me you can only do one government loan ever, FHA. Am I wrong? Yes.
Yeah. So you can do FHA on your primary residence, and then you can move, and I believe you can still do another FHA loan while having that first one. So I'd have to look at the rules on that. I know with a VA loan you can have multiple, but I'm not sure about the FHA.
And I guess to clarify, the FHA is different than like a Fannie Freddie loan.
Yeah. I mean, conventional loans, you can have 10 to 12 of them, somewhere in there. It used to be 10. I think they upped it to 12 last year.
Mhm.
And if you're doing a primary residence, I mean, you can put as little as 3 to 5% down and go conventional. If your credit score is anywhere in the 700s, it'll make sense.
And maybe, like, is the FHA like a standalone program? Are we using the wrong terminology? Like, if we say, like, I think I say government loan when I'm just referring to Fannie Freddie.
People in the mortgage industry, when you say government loan, that means FHA or VA to them.
Gotcha.
Conventional would be the Fannie Freddie or USDA. Always forget about those people.
That's just for rural stuff. Right?
Yeah, just for rural. There's a lot of rules that go along with that one. But you can get 100% financing with USDA.
Is FHA 100% financing?
96.5.
96.5.
Got to have 3.5% down.
Gotcha. So then FHA is generally an owner occupied?
Yes. Yeah, you'd have to be owner occupied to go that route.
So if I'm referring to Fannie Freddie, I should just say conventional.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or you can say Fannie Freddie. That's fine. Either way.
And the conventional one, that's the one that you could either have 10 or 12 of.
Yeah. And you can buy that as an investment property. You just have to have 25% down. If you want to buy it as a primary, you can have 3 to 5% down. Be the minimum. And you'll have mortgage insurance, but it's not really a big deal if your credit score is good.
Yeah, we had dinner last night and discussed the number shifting. I don't know when it shifted, but it used to be 10. Now I suppose it's 12. Oh, this is a good question. And thanks for being here. I do not recognize your username. So thanks for joining us this morning. The Pink Charm 1. Good morning. Have you ever dealt with tenants not paying rent or problems evicting tenants?
So we've dealt with tenants not paying rent. There's been enough programs here, social programs, to be able to help the tenant out if they've fallen on hard times due to COVID. Mm-hmm. So it's a really quick application. I think there's like 3 sets of documents you got to fill out. And then these programs will cover the tenant's back rent plus 3 months of forward rent. So the only tenants that we've had to evict have been the ones that have just refused to fill out this paperwork. As far as having trouble evicting tenants, I mean, in Ohio, the courts are open back up for evictions again.
Yeah, the eviction process is a pretty long one where, the fact that they're being evicted is, both very public. Part of the process is posting a lot of things on their front door. So it's definitely one of those things that are over communicated. And then if the eviction goes through, then, you call in again to get like a date for the move out, and then a bailiff will meet the person out there. And if they're still there, they will be kind of just removed from the property. And then they'd have to coordinate with us to come back in and get all their stuff, or whatever they leave, if they left anything of value. So far, all of the people where we have gone through the entire process, they have been out before we actually went out there with the bailiff. So far, not yet. Because again, once the eviction is final, you have to call in. The bailiff will actually, once you call in and schedule that move out date, then the bailiff will, post another sheet of paper on the front door saying, this is your move out date. If you're still here, you're going to be removed from the property. So generally by that time, there's ample amount of time to move out. And we only had one instance where that date came. The people were out, but there was a cat still in the house. But as soon as I opened up the door, the cat left. I don't know where the cat went, but I guess the cat has had a place to go. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, right now, especially, I think anybody not paying is probably choosing to not pay just because of the number of programs out there to help. We got a few calls yesterday from people that had contacted programs.
Yep. And there's also a lot of open jobs out there too. So a lot of our tenants that if they've got laid off at one job, they can pick up another job pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody is hiring at the moment.
Yep. Seems like between $12 and $13 an hour too.
Yeah,
to start out with.
We started at like $5.15.
Yeah. We worked at the movie theater back in high school.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Questions in the chat. 11 people on, 23 minutes in. We're supposed to close on a refinance later today, but that got pushed back. So our schedule is pretty well free. So this thing can go on for as long as you guys ask questions, really.
Yep.
3747. Hey, man, I'm really happy to see you on here. When you get the inspection report, what are some big red flags that would stop you from buying the property? So I really, whenever we get inspection reports, I don't think there are any red flags at that point, just things that need to be negotiated. So any negative item that you would see on there likely has a corresponding dollar value. That's like one of the pros and cons of real estate investing, is that every problem you could ever be faced with has a corresponding dollar value. So the downside of that is you spend money at every single intersection. But the upside of that is, all of the problems are both quantifiable and handleable, fixable. There we go. So it really just becomes let's say we had already negotiated the purchase price on the property and the inspection report. So presumably once the purchase price is negotiated, that is the as-is condition, but assuming there's nothing wrong with the property. Now, once the inspection report comes back, then you take that purchase price and you do your very best to, let's say if the roof's bad and that's going to cost $20,000, because I know the property you're buying is a big one, then I would expect to take $20,000 off of the purchase price for that thing. And if I really wanted the property, then I would likely, and I've already negotiated a really good price. And again, I'm not a master negotiator or anything, but just what I would likely do is ask for something off because of that thing. So if it's a $20,000 issue, but we've already negotiated a price I'm already fine with, and the roof is one of those things that you're going to have to replace it during your course of ownership at some point. So if you replace it now at the beginning, then you're good for the next 30 to 50 years. These shingle companies are starting to really push out their warranty. So if it's like part of the building, any of the mechanicals, the plumbing, the roofing, pretty much anything, I mean, those are something that you're going to have to deal with along the line. So if you get it fixed now, if it's flagged on the inspection report, then I would kind of chalk it up as a victory, because you might be able to have someone essentially help you replace that item that you were going to have to replace in the future anyway for a bigger discount. So on something like a roof, if I could get $10,000 off, like 50%, if they are willing to meet us in the middle, then I would likely be happy with that. As far as red flags, I would just consider a big red flag to be something that is so severe the purchase price kind of gets essentially negotiated away. So if this were in Ohio and it would be like a $50,000 house, but a foundation issue is uncovered in the inspection report that will be like a $35,000 issue to solve, then likely the person is not willing to accept $5,000 for their property. So it would kind of be like a stalemate, or just the deal would fall flat.
Yeah, any sort of structural issues would be red flags. Stuff that we wouldn't feel comfortable with owning the house.
Yeah. But we really don't run into too many structural issues. All right. Also, to better understand the report, do you get a specialized person to look at each, for example, plumber, roofer, electrician? So I mean, especially on like your first property, I would highly recommend that you get like a general inspection done. And then if, in my experience, inspection reports get a little bit, they're just trying to CYA a little bit too hard for my taste. So if the roof looks questionable, they would say, the report would say something like, the roof is nearing its usable life. Consult a roofing contractor for additional information or something like that. If that's what I would receive. So I'd do the initial inspection just to make sure that you didn't miss anything as you've walked through it or I've thought about it or looked at pictures. And then for specific things like roofing, electrician, plumbing, all of that, I would definitely attempt to get quotes prior to closing and getting them out there to both assess the damages and also assess how much you're interested in negotiating. And if you're going to use the quote as a means to negotiate the price a bit, then I would definitely suggest getting a couple quotes.
I think it also depends on the complexity of what you're buying too. I mean, the small single family homes that we buy, there's not too much to be inspected. But if you're buying a bigger house or a multi-unit building, then it'd probably make more sense.
Mm-hmm. This is a fun question. Based off what I've seen on the news, it seems like California has been having a lot of problems with people refusing to move out. I'm guessing it's a California thing. Probably. I would say, another cool thing about real estate investing is it's not like it's just one homogenous real estate market where everything that happens in California also happens in somewhere else. And I think that's why I stress to the best of my ability on this channel to, when you are interested in real estate investing, find like a local mentor and a local network of investors in that same area, because each real estate market, each geographical location has a different way of going about doing real estate things. Politics does play a somewhat of a role inside of real estate investing, because real estate's one of those things that the eviction process is different in like almost every municipality, even inside of a state. And then each state handles their court systems a little bit differently. And yeah, every place has its own unique market and unique hurdles that you kind of have to go through. And what flies here in our market might not do so in a different state. And I'm positive that there would be a massive learning curve for us if we started investing in another area. Like, I'm very familiar with like what we need to get permits for and what we don't. And that changes immediately whenever you go into a different place. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, you did a great job on that one.
Yes. The wheel stamp of approval. Thanks for taking my question. I'm in law enforcement in California, looking to leave. I've been rewatching Your Millionaire by 30 series. Awesome. I really like that series. I think that series was like everything that I know about and everything that I've learned about since leaving law enforcement. So it's definitely brighter on this side of things. The project manager that we just hired he just left law enforcement as well. I'm a big fan. I mean, law enforcement is great if you're into that thing, but as soon as it turns sour, it turns sour hard. Earl Johnson. That's a good name. Earl Johnson. Great advice on getting quotes prior to closing. Thanks. While it is prudent, also a great negotiation tool. So, do y'all mainly focus on single family homes? Yes. I love the app, by the way. Awesome. Thanks. I completely forgot to plug that so far. I'm really excited about it. Have you used it?
The calculator? No.
It's not on it. So I checked with the developer because one of the comments on the video was that there's not an app. It's not available in the Google Play Store yet. So I checked with the developer, and it should be at some point. So that's great news. But right now it might just be on the Apple Store. But yeah, the Ingram rental calculator, we tried to make it really simple and really helpful all at the same time. So I'm a big fan of the way that it turned out. And then once we start doing these deals, once I start doing some more of these deals explained videos, I could just do a screen video of exactly how we do things, because the app is built right around how we analyze properties. There's even a loan calculator in there.
Yeah, you could use that to figure out what terms you'd have to make the deal work.
Because a lot of times, especially if I'm driving, I shouldn't frame it up like that. When I'm on the go analyzing properties, just really just because mentally I've got this rough thing that I can do that comes pretty close. But the thing that I always draw blanks on are like, what's the principal and interest payment going to be? I don't know how to calculate that in my head very quickly. So I play around with the interest rates and all that just to figure out that price to see what the appropriate amount of money that we should pay is. All right. Let's see here. Great advice. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being on here. Let's see here. We've got 14 people on. We are 33 minutes in. 14 people. That's a good number of people. That's like a full classroom of people.
Yep.
I don't know what the average size of a classroom is nowadays. There's only so much room. I'm about to start working a W-2 job to help with getting approved for loans. Now I'm self-employed, and it's proven to be difficult. It is. The road is hard.
You are correct, Edward. I do mortgages as one of my jobs. So self-employment, the lender's going to want to see 2 years of tax returns. So even in non-QM, non-qualified mortgage, which means outside of Fannie and Freddie, you could do bank statement loans or bank statement loans would be the way to go. But even those, they're going to want to see 2 years of tax returns for self-employed people. So if you were a W-2 and are now a 1099 and pretty much the same job, which we're seeing a lot of employers are doing that now due to COVID or whatever else, they're shifting their employees from being W-2 to 1099 for whatever reason, then that can still be seen by a few lenders as you being in the same job. So you can get a loan from one of those guys. But if you completely shifted careers, then people are going to want to see 2 years of tax returns.
And I think one of the things that gets overlooked a lot, just because, it took us a while to learn this when we were just trying to figure out, this one of the reasons that Will went into the mortgage industry, is just to figure out like how to present ourselves as being most bankable. And one of the things that we learned pretty quickly was like not all banks have the same rules. So there's a lot of freedom and flexibility that from like one bank to another. So I know when I bought my personal home and I was trying to figure out how to be bankable, because I was like right on the cusp of that 2-year mark. I had a conversation with like 6 or 7 different lenders here, and found a lot of local credit unions were willing to hold my loan personally. And that means they wouldn't sell it to Fannie or Freddie, so that if it's inside of their portfolio, then they have even more flexibility because they're not attempting to check all the boxes to resell the market once they originate it on the secondary market.
Yeah, just realize with a program like that, you're probably going to have a higher interest rate than you would if you were to go conventional, just because the bank's going to have to hold that themselves. And you'd be looking for something like a commercial VP of lending at a local credit union would be their title. And I think a lot of people get discouraged too. I mean, you mentioned talking to 6 or 7 lenders. So just realize that's how many people you're going to have to talk to, maybe even more. For some of the loans that Ryan and I've got, I've called 12 banks before getting a yes from somebody. Yeah. And one of our friends is doing a refinance on one of his investment properties. He had to call 20 different lenders to get the somebody that would say yes and do the loan. So.
Yeah, I often just say that just as persistent as I am looking for deals, Will is persistent in looking for banks that are willing to work with us. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Will, for the VA 1% origination fee, I'll be able to get this taken off. I can with VA disability. Can I entice the seller if they update one unit? For example, floor tile and baseboards, I will give them the money instead.
I mean, I think that would be something that would be negotiated outside of the mortgage itself. So I don't know how the VA would view that if you're try to get that built into the loan. Um, but if you're to negotiate that with the seller outside of the loan process, then you could get them to update one unit.
Yeah, because I think, in theory, if you get that 1% waived, then it kind of just immediately becomes your money. So, yeah, I don't know how you would structure that in the loan, but outside the loan would.
Yeah, and the thing that you might run into is the appraisal. You just wouldn't want it coming back as a subject to improvement appraisal. So if the place is in the middle of construction because you asked for it, just realize that could delay the loan process.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Hello. All right. Is 4.85% loan without a bank considering your DTI a good idea?
I'm assuming you mean 4.85% without going to the Fannie Freddie route. And yeah, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So you found somebody to lend you money that can't sell their loan off to anybody else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that'd be good. Loans are based on in the traditional sense, they're based on your credit score and the loan amount and a little bit on the property. Like there's a difference between multi-units or condos versus single family homes. So single family homes are going to be the cheapest interest rate. I mean, we're not talking about much of a difference, probably a quarter to maybe 0.5%. But the biggest thing would be your credit score and the loan amount.
I know Tolu's in the market where I think her average rental price is probably about $200,000. So analyzing your numbers and considering the 4.85, I mean, one of the things that I think we did pretty early on was just find I guess the highest number interest rate that we're willing to work with, that we would still cash flow and be happy with that cash flow. And I think it's like 8%. So long as we stay under 8%, I think we're really happy.
Yeah. And if you could amortize it over a longer period of time, if you could do 30 years instead of, because most local banks will give you 20, it is about, if they're going to hold the loan themselves, that's the longest term they'll want to do. But I would look for a mortgage broker in your hometown. So a $200,000 house, if you got decent credit, meaning somewhere in the 700s, then you'd be able to get a Fannie Freddie loan somewhere in the mid 3s right now.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Again, borderline free money.
So that'd be 25% down. So
another question for Will. Ryan mentioned it earlier. I'm buying a fourplex for $930,000 at 2.875% with inflation at 3 or 3.2%. What does that mean long term?
It means you're winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, you'll be able to raise rents pretty much every year. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to raise them something. You won't be able to raise them drastically, but your mortgage, the principal and interest will stay the same.
I think that's like the beauty of like fixed rate and like fixed term, like long-term fixed debt instruments. Because inflation is going to continue to happen. You're going to get raises. You're able to raise everybody else. So you're able to raise the income of the property, and your payment always stays the same.
Now your taxes and insurance will probably go up a little bit. I mean, in Florida, we've seen insurance go up 25% since last year. So I mean, you're in the insurance business. I don't know if that's different for other parts of the country, but I know in Florida, we've had a lot of claims.
I had I had a conversation with an insurance agency owner not long ago, and he's licensed in Florida. And I asked him about the premiums, assuming that it was weather related, and it got him fired up. And he went on a real long diatribe about the reason that Florida's insurance premiums are so outlandish is it has nothing to do with the weather. And his whole point was the weather has been the same way the weather has been in Florida for the entire existence of both insurance and Florida. So he was saying there's enough historical data to appropriately charge premiums to handle those events. However, the unknown variable that keeps changing inside of Florida is the way that insurance claims are litigated. And apparently there's a couple laws in insurance, and that is that regardless of what happens inside of an insurance claim, I think the both defending and prosecuting attorneys get paid by the insurance company. So I think he gave me some sort of breakdown of like all the claims paid out, and it was like I think like 80% went to like the prosecuting attorney, 24% went to, that would be too high. 6% went to the actual insured. So only 6% of all the insurance claims ever paid out made it to the owner of the home. All the other percentages were given to between the prosecuting and the defense attorney. So that's all the things that I learned about Florida. It's wild that it has very little to do with the weather, because that's what you would immediately think.
Yeah. I mean, I just know from my personal home, we paid, say, $900 a year for insurance when we bought it in 2015. And now it's up to $1,400. So, but I think the question we were getting on was, is it a good deal? And the answer is yes for the 4-unit. So, I mean, your taxes will probably go up by a little bit, but you can raise the rents to more than cover for that and the insurance increase.
And I mean, I think understanding it from like what you have already mentioned is, since it is where it is with the base, I mean, I think the government is probably already budgeting for those increases. So I think raising the rents for you is going to be extraordinarily easy and pretty well non-emotional, because it doesn't actually affect the resident. Let's see. Any questions you might have in the chat, go ahead and post them. We're going to be more than happy to answer it, to the best of our ability, at least.
Yeah.
If you have an iPhone, then hop on over to the App Store and download the Ingram rental calculator. Still really pumped about that.
This refinance that we're working on right now, we found a lender that'd be willing to do interest only for the first 10 years, which will greatly increase our cash flow per month right now. And that's what we're concerned about at the moment, because we're in the middle of hiring employees and growing as a business. So we need as much cash on hand right now as possible. Mm-hmm. So the way that works is it'd be a interest only for the first 10 years and then be amortized over the next 20. So, but over the course of the next 10 years, we'd be able to more than, raise rents to cover whatever the amount difference will be when it starts being amortized, when we'll have principal pay down.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
We're going to be in our 40s.
Yeah.
We're going to be grown. If we're not already. All right. Speaking of grown, Ronnie Payne asks, what state should I buy my first multi-unit in? What state are you in? You're an out-of-state investor.
Yeah, I am. I would not be an out-of-state investor if I didn't have Ryan here. I would not have bought houses in Dayton without having, someone I extremely trust here.
So Ronnie's in New York. I don't really know. I moved to Dayton from North Carolina. North Carolina was not like entry. It's harder to enter the North Carolina market with little money. Here, when I first moved here, you could still buy properties for $35,000 or so that were rent ready. So that played a big role into where I chose to invest in. But I also moved here, so I know several people have moved to take advantage of investing in other markets because the market that they lived in was just too high. not affordable and the returns were so low. And I would say if your intentions are truly buying or truly building like a real estate portfolio or empire, I would highly suggest moving to a market that is affordable. Check out some like demographic information, population information, figure out, the trends on the places and figure out a good place that seems promising that you wouldn't mind living in personally, and try to start investing there. I know there are some people that invest in New York successfully. And that's another really cool thing about real estate investing is in every market, in every time period, there are real estate investors operating profitably in your area. So it's just a matter of figuring out where you want to be, what kind of problems you want to have, what type of returns you want to make, and how much money you have on hand to get started, really.
Yeah. And I would also say that some things that we hear that prevent people from, either moving or taking on new opportunities is just their cash on hand and their fear of losing their W-2 income. So how you can counteract that is to, live below your means, I guess, for a little while, get, pretty much a year's worth of your income in the bank. And that way it'll give you some options and some flexibility. You'd have a long runway meaning that you can cover your expenses with or without an income for a little while before you find another way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Ryan and I both changed our careers to give us a more comfortable lifestyle, or the lifestyle that we wanted to live. So we've got a lot more freedom, get to make our own decisions. I mean, we're both essentially government employees, Ryan being a police officer and me being in the Navy. And it just didn't allow the flexibility or freedom that either of us wanted to raise our young kids.
Somehow I ended up in sales, selling life insurance, and then I transitioned to property and casualty. And we actually bought our first rental property. And I was currently only selling life insurance, but I had my property and casualty license. And then I tried to find insurance for our rental property and realized that there weren't any insurance agents that actually understood like the real estate investing jargon in my like lungible area. So I just decided to start focusing on selling property insurance to other real estate investors. And I think sales, if you're looking to increase your income and you have a really strong work ethic, I think sales is likely the best way to go.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Insurance. Can you get back to this in your channel? I still have no idea on how to read my insurance quote to decide which to get for a rental property. What are the basics? Yeah, I can do that. I know I made like a series of videos that talked about everything in broad strokes, but it would be pretty easy for me to take a couple different insurance policies, black out the private information or whatever, and just go over insurance policies. I would also have to black out the company names. Insurance companies are pretty brutal. Still one of those industries where I think there might be trade secrets. Maybe, I don't know. I have some insurance underwriters reach out to me when they're doing like research for their products. And they're like, you can even hear it in their tone. They're trying to be sneaky, like, hey, you represent this other insurance company, right? How do they do this? Oh, so yeah, I'll get a marker and make a couple of good videos. Good morning. Where can I find a sample rental contract to cover the basics? And I don't know what that. And basics and build upon. Yep.
I think if you were to go to a solid networking meeting in your local area, somebody will have a rental contract that was written by a lawyer. That's the key. You'd want to find somebody that had it done by a lawyer, or just talk to the lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And any good lawyer who does real estate should have a contract, at least a template that you can take a look at.
Mm-hmm.
It might cost you $150, $250 somewhere in there, but it'd be worth it. to get at least your first one done by a lawyer.
And I would say most brokerage houses have like sample contracts that they use, like just boilerplate that they've had attorneys look at. And I know the agents are generally pretty open. Most people don't mind sharing contracts. I don't think. I've asked a lot of realtors to share their contract with me, and they have. So that's exactly how we did when we took over property management and started doing our own leasing. I mean, we just had the previous people we were using for property management. We stayed on good terms. They sent us over their contract. We pretty much copy and pasted it, sent it to our attorney, had him look over it, make sure that, there wasn't anything that we're missing. And then each time we encounter something that we feel strongly upon, but it's unclear in the lease, and it makes for, we've just been building on it case by case. So the manners that we've added into it so far, I know appliances. So a lot of times, like, we do not provide appliances, and sometimes, appliances are left in properties and we don't remove them because they look like they're functioning. And we didn't clearly address that. I know we made every intentions of saying that when we showed the property to potential people that would live there. But a couple of times, a couple months into them living there, they think that we're the ones that provided it, and they're getting super angry because we are telling them we're not going to fix it. So we've modified our lease to say, any appliances that may be left in there are not warranted by us. They're not provided by us. They were just left there. So, we're more than happy to help them get it out, but we won't be replacing. Other things that we've added. Do you know of anything? It's the only thing I can think of offhand.
Rent check. You can talk about that.
Yeah, there's a new program out there called Rent Check, and it's really cool. I'll make a video about that as soon as we go through like a couple more rounds of it. But essentially, it is an incredible program that allows at scale for you to inspect all of your properties. So it is an app, and the residents can download it, and it is pretty much ensuring that the resident is able to get their full security deposit back by doing a rent check inspection on the front end. And then just as we direct the program, because it's software and can be programmed to do either, whatever frequency you want these inspections to be done, you can do them. So quarterly, annually. You can even just do like one thing at a time, like furnace filter checks. So we're going to start implementing that. And we updated our lease to say, hey, non-compliance with this program may result in eviction, or it'd be like violating the lease. So just because, in a perfect world, I would love to know that all of our properties are like not being actively being abused by the people that are living there, because we really love all of the properties. We take a lot of pride in them, and we want them to last, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, right? We want to pass these properties on to, our kids. So we want them, we want to partner with people that also want to take care of our properties. So from a manpower perspective, physically inspecting them is extraordinarily costly and super labor intensive. But with this app, we're optimistic that we'll be able to manually review if we see something in the pictures that is frightening to us or something that we want to address. We can do so immediately. So really excited about that. And I mean, the app has features on it where you can't upload photos from your photo album. You have to take them. I think it also makes you turn on the geolocation thing so that you can verify that those pictures were in fact taken at the property. And I think once we fully get that thing going, then it'll just have great impacts on our business overall.
Yep. And I mean, recently we had 2 tenants. After they moved out, we discovered they pretty much destroyed the entire basement. So we don't have to spend crazy amount of money to get that fixed.
And people in areas that don't have basements, you might be wondering to yourself, how do you destroy a basement? Aren't they mainly made of block? You are correct. So they have destroyed them by, I guess when it gets cold out, or just when they're busy, they just let the dogs live down there. And there's just layers and layers and layers of dog poo that they have just never cleaned up. So it is extraordinarily difficult and labor intensive to get that smell out of there, lest it permanently scar or taint the property.
Yep. And one more thing that we added to the lease was paying electronically. So we've got a lot of people that we're trying to get everybody to use our app to make it really easy for management purposes. So dropping off checks or cash is what we're trying to discourage.
Yeah.
So just get everybody to pay electronically through our portal makes the management a lot easier.
Right. But yeah. All right. How do banks view rental properties on your credit? I want to buy a multi-unit with FHA in Jersey and then buy my personal home in Georgia.
Well, one at a time. So if you want to do FHA in Jersey, you would have to live in that house for, say you're going to buy a 4-unit. You'd have to live there. I don't know the length of time. And I don't think anybody would really check up on it to make sure you're still living there, but you should do at least 6 months to a year. So that would have to be your primary residence.
And it would have to be like a 1 to 4 unit, right? You can't go above.
Yes, correct. No more than a 4-unit. So the nice thing is, as far as your credit goes, you would be able to count the other 3 units as income. So the appraiser would do, I think it's a 1007 is what it's called. It's a form where they'll say the estimated market rent for those 3 units. And then the bank will take 75% of that as income for you. So that'll help out your debt to income a little bit.
Now, do you have to have the rental property for 2 years before they count that?
No. So on an FHA loan, it'll all be, you don't even have to have tenants in there. It can be,
Nice.
Just theoretical income. As long as the places are in livable condition. You wouldn't be able to do it on a fixer-upper. And they also might want to see the leases if people are living there. So
the calc is dope and it's free. Blessings. Yeah, thank you. It is free. And so I just bought like a generic privacy policy template on there, and I had limited options. It just seemed it was the most economic way for me to get a privacy policy, because that's one of the things that you have to do in order to get apps posted. So I didn't have, all I had to pick from in the privacy policy was drop down menu. So if you check the privacy policy, it's not consistent with what I'm saying, but we collect no data for any length of time. And I mentioned this in the video that I did explaining the rental calculator, but essentially it is not invasive whatsoever. The little, even the little, like, how are you enjoying this app feature is very non-invasive. Like if you say you're enjoying it, it will ask you if you want to leave a review. You could say no, and that's great news. If you click no, it doesn't send you in that infinite feedback loop. So you can save your calculations on here as well, and it's not storing it on some cloud. It's not storing it anywhere else. It is local to your phone. So if you ever lose your phone or anything like that, then you do lose your calculations. But hey, that's way better than giving away information unnecessarily. So I collect no information. I don't make you put in like a login information. It is just 100% free. And I ask for nothing in return. So it's really just to help us all calculate better on the fly. Thank you, Ronnie Payne. I can't get any more FHA because I maxed out my debt to income. Well, totally. You're also a baller, and you've got like 3 homes now, and you've acquired them all very quickly. So I think your next step is likely coming over to the commercial side, right?
yeah. So there's lenders out there like Direct Lending Partner, DLPs, people who we work with. You know, if you send Ryan an email, we'll be sure to get you in touch with them. But their entire loan process will be based on the rental property, not your income.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's a good point, because one strategy that I know some people use, especially like when you're utilizing an FHA or VA loan, is once the properties are seasoned a little bit, once they're stabilized as far as the rental income coming in, they'll actually refinance those with another type of loan, and then that would free up your FHA and VA loans again, so that you can go out and use those again. And I think, if you're able to do that successfully a couple of times, then you're getting rental properties at 3.5% down at 30-year loans at whatever low percent.
Yep.
Thank you, Tall and Blind. That's awesome. Got a super sticker.
Nice.
Got a big tip. Good morning, Terry. Earl Johnson. Such a great, honest, no thrills, no hype video. Lots of info for new people getting into rentals. Thank you so much for answering questions in a way that makes sense. And again, thanks for this video. Thank you, Earl Johnson, for being a part of this. This makes us real excited. It makes a lot more sense in my head to answer real people's real questions that are about real estate investing. Anything that might be impeding your progress in the real estate thing, if we could just clear that up, that would be great, rather than just kind of throwing darts at the wall to see if they'll stick, as far as like making videos that satisfy an algorithm that might be out of my scope of expertise in the beginning.
That's another thing about real estate investing, is pretty much all these problems, any problem that you can have, has already been solved by somebody else. So you just have to find who has solved that person.
Yeah. Not only have they already been solved, but they have been being solved by these people for hundreds of years. Like, we have a duplex that was built in the 1800s, and we often laugh about that. I mean, it's been a cash flowing, income producing property for longer than most small businesses ever have stayed alive. Tenant screening and rental. Is it advisable to do it yourself or use a realtor or property manager? So I think that technology in this space is progressing in a manner where even the most small mom and pop of landlords are going to be able to have like a professional feel. So, I mean, with Appfolio, that has like a number of properties minimum that you have to have before you can use the software. But I know a lot of people that have like one or two, they just use Zillow to rent their properties, and Zillow has like a built-in, rental check that includes like background, credit report, and all that you can see, eviction history that you can pay for, and really just see everything. So we use everything that's built right into Appfolio. When we list a property for rent, all we really do is go into Appfolio, upload a bunch of pictures to Appfolio, write a marketing description, and then we click like post to the internet and post to our website, and it will put that property, it'll push it out to like 80 or 90 different websites that market rentals available. So in the description, we have like a really long list. Our descriptions are less about the individual property and more about our expectations and procedures of how we do things, and how we expect the applications to be submitted. We do not do any in-person showings until after an application fee is received and they pass the credit and background check and all of that. And the reason for that is one of the things that really scared us about property management, and especially about the leasing, was the fact that all of the realtors that I know in the area that do property management just spend so much time showing the vacant properties to unqualified, uninterested people. So by increasing the bar and saying, hey, we're only going to take our time and show you this property after the application fee is paid and you pass our background check. I mean, we only show a property once or twice before it's rented out. And it's also one of those things because, especially on these, regardless, like the application fee, I think for us is right around $50 or so. I mean, that's a substantial amount of money, especially for something that you're not even sure you want yet. So if you fill out the application fee with us and you do not pass the background check, then your application fee is not refunded because we had to pay for those tests to be run. And clearly in the description, we list all of the things that would disqualify you from those. So you should know if any of those impact you at all. However, if like we process all the applications in the orders that we receive as well. So if one property receives 3 applications, then we start with the first. If there's anything on the report that kicks them out of the process, then they're gone. They're not refunded. The second person, let's say that one goes through. They have a good background. They have a good credit history. We go out, we show them that property. If they want it, great. It is theirs. And that third application that comes in, we ask them if they're interested in any of the other properties. If not, we refund their money, and we never process their background or criminal history or anything like that. That way, we're not wasting any of our people's time, and we're not wasting any of anyone else's time or money either. So it's not like a fee that we're making any money off of. It's not an income stream for us. It's just a hoop of sorts. Yeah. Luckily, I have really good W-2 and no debt. But how are banks considering crypto assets?
I don't really know if they would, because crypto is really hard to get real statements from them. So mortgage companies and lenders and banks are all set up to receive statements. It's a check in the box that they've got to say, this person's got assets ready to go. So I know Quicken Loans, or now Rocket, has said that they would accept crypto as a form of asset, but you've also got to be able to show the whole paper trail, which how quickly can you really get in and out of crypto into your bank account during the 30-day closing window that you're trying to purchase a home in. So I would say that it's still the safest bet to go ahead and transfer all your crypto into the cash that you think you'll need to buy the home, at least a month before doing it. Because it can even be hard to do the paper trail with crypto.
And I mean, even so, crypto is still so volatile that it fluctuates by hundreds of percents per day at times. So I don't know. I think, I'm all on the crypto train, but at the same time, I don't know. It's tough. Do you provide a copy of the tenant screening report to the tenant? Not by procedure, but we wouldn't have an issue sharing that information if someone asked for it. We've never really been asked for it. Lewis Porter Jr., it's been a while, man. Welcome back. I saw that you commented on one of my videos this week, and I said, man, oh man, where has he gone? I'm happy to hear from you, man. And hey, if you forgot, if your deal flow is a little low, there's this thing called Prop Stream. It'll increase your deal flow, and it will allow you to run your own comps. I thought I had a banner that advertised Prop Stream, but I do not. The restaurant, we have not done anything with that yet. We don't think we're going to proceed with the restaurant idea after analyzing what we'd be able to rent that out for, how much is required for the build out. And we really only had one person in mind, and in talking with them about their expectations of us and what they wanted us to pay for and provide, financially, it didn't make sense for something that is outside of our wheelhouse. We don't want to repossess a restaurant. We don't want any of the equipment that we were going to spend money on. So that kind of fell through for now. What about the tacos? You're right, man. I still think tacos would go really well there, but just needs to be on much different terms.
Or to-go wings.
To-go wings. Yeah. Last night, now I had a little bit of recency bias going because we ate some really big steaks last night, but I was thinking that a meat market of sorts, like a butcher shop, would go well there. But again, I was currently infatuated with steaks at the moment. Yeah, we really don't know what we're going to do with that spot, but we're open to any and all suggestions. Thought about even trying to turn it into a mini storage unit. Who knows? A laundromat might still be a good idea, but
or USPS.
that's
Or
that. Yeah, that was
UPS.
the other thing. Yeah, like a print like a UPS store, whatever they do, boxes and printing and mailings and scannings and boxings. Event planning space. I don't think
Nobody's
people
planning events and
no. I mean, it's only 1,800 square foot, and the parking is limited, so it wouldn't necessarily be a place that you could invite all your friends. Also, do you know of any places that write loans in Guam? After I closed on my VA loan property, a new construction project came up for 1.8 million. I would need to get 20%.
yeah, I would talk with there's got to be some form of a local mortgage broker that would help out. I really don't know about Guam because we don't do much. I don't do anything outside of Florida as far as mortgages go. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. So I have to do some research. Guam. And I would budget 25% down.
Yeah. A postal annex. Yeah, that would be solid. Probably pretty helpful. Because I don't think, I mean, there is a post office a couple streets over, but it's not within comfortable walking distance. So anybody that wanted a box within walking distance, because it is in a largely residential, very well platted area. It's been sitting for so long, but the apartments above it, there are 2 units above it that more than make the return for it. It was a really good deal for us, but I have not spent much time, if any at all, thinking about that space underneath. Lewis Porter Jr. last time he was like really active on this chat was right before we bought it. So I was going through my big plans phase. And it really fizzled out hard. Yeah. You already have the key maker. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I should do. I should open up a key copying shop. All we do is copy keys. Be like that fella in the Matrix. Jeff Long. Hey man, love the life and real estate investing wisdom you're sharing. Keep it up. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks. He would be a fun one to meet. If you're not busy later today, Jeff, let me know. I would love to meet up with you. All right. Well, we are an hour and 15 minutes in. We've got 19 people in the chat. Any sort of real estate investing questions that you have, by all means, please check them out. Let's see here. The Seek Wisdom Mastermind group. If you're interested in that, there is the link to it, seek-wisdom.com/join. There's like a 45-minute video that I recorded. It might be 30 minutes. I really don't remember the time of it, but it goes in detail what that group is about. And there are some openings right now. So it's 2 different groups, limited to about 10 people per group. So if you have any interest in that at all, go ahead and fill out an application. And if you have any questions, go ahead and post those in the chat. Let's see here. What else is there?
Yeah. Sometimes people get caught up on interest rates with investment properties. And you got to figure out how much it's really going to affect you too. I mean, especially on the smaller dollar amount homes, like a $50,000 mortgage or whatnot. The difference between 3.5% and 4.5% is really not much. Mm-hmm. So that should not make or break your deal. So don't be scared to go with the slightly higher interest rate, especially if there's a lot less paperwork and administrative side to go along with that.
Yep. And I mean, factoring in the inflation, the appreciation, the principal pay down, the cash flow, the interest rate disappears rather quickly.
Yeah. Another thing a lot of people do is pay off all their mortgages early. And I would recommend to never do that. So, I mean, if you want to do it for your primary residence for peace of mind, I mean, some people want to do that, but I mean, the cash flow that you'd be able to generate by just leaving that mortgage in place should be very adequate. And if you ever needed the money for any reason, it is hard to get money out of real estate, because to do you'd have to do a cash out refinance or a line of credit, one of the two. And the cash out refi, let's just do a $200,000 loan, will probably cost you $7-8 grand just in fees, title, taxes, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I recently did well, not recently. One of the videos that I did on this channel was I was going through the math of why I'm never going to pay off my mortgage early. And I used like the real numbers from my mortgage to show that outside the principal should be considered a savings, really, because it's your money that you're slowly putting in. And then just like the interest rate is the only thing that really goes away when you pay off your house. You still have to pay the property taxes. You still have to pay the insurance. A lot of what makes up your mortgage payment is things that don't go away. So I think, just from memory, it was like right around $200 per month is what I would save by spending, like, I think at the time it was like 178 grand in order to pay off that mortgage. So that, like, a $200 return per month on a $178,000 investment is bad. Yeah. All right. Brother Ingram in the flesh. Ian Gilligan in the chat. Yeah, he exists. He's a real person. Let's see here. I'm getting started into real estate and I would like to house hack in New Jersey. What do you think about the New Jersey market? Man, I really don't have any opinions about the New Jersey market.
Yeah, that's a tough one because neither of us live there.
Yeah, it's really tough. One of the things, again, I really love about real estate investing is the fact that it's so nuanced and it's not just one big, massive real estate market. I mean, each area is different. Just speaking in really broad strokes that I've done no research on and probably won't even stand by tomorrow if someone asks me about it. But I mean, if you're looking at things from like a purely like a return on investment, then I would just assume that New Jersey probably has really low returns because of how established and populated it is. If you go somewhere like in the Midwest where you can still buy a perfectly good house for like $40,000, it's hard to compare. So it really depends on where you're at in your life, where you want to live, what type of returns you want, and the problems that you want to have. That would likely determine whether or not New Jersey is a good fit for you. If you're willing to move to a different market, then you could probably get better returns. But then, at what sacrifice? Probably your family, your friends, and all that.
Yeah. And if you're willing to house hack, and I mean, what I assume you mean by house hack is you buy a 4-unit and you live in one and rent the other 3 out, then you should still be able to more than cover your mortgage payment.
Pretty much regardless of what market you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's always a plus. You can do a conventional loan and you might have to put like 10% down on a 4-unit. I'm not exactly sure, but still be a lot better of a way to go. Lowest interest rate out there, since it'd be your primary residence.
Yeah. Given the current state of the market in Dayton and nationwide, are you still looking to buy lots of rentals and refi them in a package? Yes.
Yes. And we may even expedite our timeline.
Yeah.
So as the house prices continue to increase, I mean, I personally don't see any reason they would go down, because at least in the Jacksonville market, the people moving in are actual homeowners who have jobs, good income. And it's a supply and demand problem. So in Jacksonville, there's 100 people moving there per day and not near enough houses to go around for the amount of people that are moving in. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the people would have to stop moving there for the house prices to go down.
And I mean, in Dayton, even though housing prices have doubled, if not tripled, since we started back in 2017, we're still way below like the actual replacement cost of a property. So even though they've doubled or tripled, you still can't buy a house. I mean, build a house for cheaper than you can buy one.
Yeah.
So we've still got a ways to go, but
I mean, we're buying houses for probably $40 a square foot,
mhm.
and it would cost you $120, maybe $150 to build. So it still makes a lot of sense where we're at. And even if the market were to have a huge correction, rents would still stay about the same. So rents aren't going to move down
Mhm.
per se. I mean, you'd have to have an extreme event, like a big employer move out or something to that effect, to cause rents to go down.
Mhm. But yeah, we're looking to buy a lot of properties.
Yeah.
We set goals. We set ambitious goals, and we need to hit them. Your videos have really motivated me. Thank you for your content. Thank you for watching the content. It's really motivating to me that you're watching them. Good morning, Dapper D. How's the market in Jacksonville doing?
Yeah, it's hot. I mean, my wife and I bought a house for 180 4 years ago, and now it's worth 270. So I mean, and I think the biggest difference is the rents have gone up with that. Back in 2017, the market rent would have been $1,300 for this place, and now we could push it up to 1,900, maybe even $2,000 a month. So it's crazy.
I'm in Texas. How would I invest in foreclosure homes? So if you're looking for HUD homes, then if you download the HUD Home Store app on your phone, you'll be able to search your market. That's probably a good idea to do that on like a daily or weekly basis to see like what comes up from the HUD homes. And whatever city you're in, I would do just like a quick Google search that says, like if you're in Houston, Texas, I would just type in like Houston, Texas sheriff sales and see what comes up. It's really tough to know, like for us to know, because it's different, like from municipality to municipality. The process in which you find the information, get the information, interact with that information, it's all different. The other thing that you can do is use a 7-day a link to PropStream, get a 7-day free trial, and search your area for pre-foreclosure homes and also active foreclosures. Let me find that link and post that here. And it is an affiliate link. It's free for 7 days, and then I believe it's like right around $100 per month. I think it's like 96, 95, something in that range. And I think it's really, really solid. Let me see if I can go ahead and pin that up there too.
And there's all sorts of ways to invest outside of foreclosure properties too. I mean, even stuff that we had no idea about until we met with a guy who worked for a lawyer and figured out how to do quiet title and a few other things. I'm really still not sure how it all works, but I know that these guys can get properties at a pretty good discount.
PropStream, you motivated me, man. I hadn't even mentioned it yet, and I saw your name, and I had to start. All right. Should I pay off my primary residence first, then buy an investment property?
No.
Using VA loan? Dapper D just showed up.
That would take a while, I'm assuming, unless you have a pretty high income to pay off your primary. But your primary residence is the cheapest money you will ever have. So it would be, in my opinion, a lot wiser to just go buy an investment property using the cash that you would have put into your primary mortgage.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. House of Jacksonville, we did that. Thank you for your insight. Thank you. Let's see here. How does depreciation work for rental property? In theory, buying a property with high purchase price will lower your taxable income.
Yeah, I believe it's depreciated over something like 27 and a half years. So I've got no idea what schedule the CPA or bookkeeper would use to do that depreciation. I'm sure you could look it up, but yeah, and rental houses do lower your taxable income. I think you'd have to have a lot of rentals to really take your income down to zero. But I
Well,
mean,
he is buying like $930,000.
yeah,
So it's like 27 and a half years.
yeah, I think is what it's based on. But I don't know if that's an even distribution across those 27 and a half years, or if it's like an amortization schedule where you pay a certain amount of principal in the early years and then much more in the later years.
Mhm. What is your biggest challenge investing out of state? Ooh, we don't have any. We don't really do it. I know we're together now. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida, but I live here in Dayton, Ohio, where we currently are. So um, I'm local.
I would say it's typically finding a trustworthy management company would be your hardest thing to do, because a management company can easily eat up all your profits
100%.
if you're not careful. Maybe even more than all your profits.
Yeah, yeah. I have a joke that I try not to make too often or too loud, but there's one management company in particular here that I kind of feel like I owe a referral fee to, because we've bought so many properties now from out of state investors that that management company is just burned out. They just eat up the profit, and then yeah, it's a sad cycle, but yeah, management companies are a really big deal.
Yeah.
Who's the main employer in Dayton and also Jacksonville?
I mean,
the Air Force Base.
yeah. Wright Pat Air Force Base, I believe, employs somewhere in the mid 20,000 range, like 24, 26,000 between the military and the civilians. And there's a huge health network here, too. So they've got a few different hospitals that I believe employ about 10,000 people apiece.
I have a couple different insurance. Well, one big health insurance company that has a downtown presence, and then there are a few. I don't know what this person does.
Yeah, and then you got what AK Steel, I believe, is the only Fortune 500 company, and it's about 25, 30 minutes south of Dayton. But in Jacksonville, I mean, they've got a few big employers. I know CSX is one of them, a few Fortune 500s at least. Fidelity's got a headquarters there. I don't think it's their national headquarters, but it's a big one that they're going in. Florida Blue Insurance Company. So, I mean, Jacksonville's got, and there's big banks downtown. It's a city of 1.5 million people. So, it's a lot of folks.
What's your greatest concern in reference to the current housing market? I mean, honestly, it's that, if it keeps going up, we're going to have to reevaluate our business model. As on these Deals Explained videos, we borrow money from friends and family at 10, 12% that are backed by first position mortgages. And, right now the rents are like $950 for like a 3-bed, 1-bath with like a detached garage. And, a couple of those this week have been listed for like in the $100,000 range. So just mathematically speaking, anytime we would buy a property at 10 or 12% interest only, if we're buying them at the full retail of 100 and something thousand, then that would put us in the negatives immediately from a cash flow perspective. So I guess to answer that question, it's that if the market keeps increasing like this, then our business model is we're going to need to pivot, make some changes, be a little agile.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your biggest concern too?
Yeah, because we'd be getting squeezed as far as the profits that we could make.
Yeah.
So we'd have to either decrease the amount that we would be able to pay our investors, which we don't want to do, or figure out how to still get houses at a discounted rate. Maybe we'd have to change our marketing strategies. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a way to pivot, because, one of the things that I am trying my hardest to never waver on is in all markets, in all periods of time, there are real estate investors that are actively running profitable real estate investing businesses.
One thing that we're seeing that I thought was pretty interesting, at least in Jax, is we got the iBuyers now. So the Zillows, the Open Door, OfferPad, those guys are coming in and pretty much offering asking price, maybe even a little bit higher in cash, and you pick your own closing date. Still not sure how these guys are actually making money, but I mean, they'll buy the house and then pretty much immediately relist it on the MLS. So they might do a little bit of repairs to it, fix it up a little bit, but I don't know. The margins seem really skinny. And I know Ryan and I couldn't outlay that much money and get anywhere near the returns that we'd be comfortable with. But there's people out there who are doing it. So, you know, maybe they've got cheaper cash than we do.
Yeah, and another thing is, like, I know a lot of people get squirmish whenever they hear, 10 or 12% interest rates, but we get a lot of satisfaction and find a lot of joy in being able to provide those type of returns for our investors. So it's not like we're not burdened by that interest rate. We get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Do you go through an agent to purchase your real estate owned, or deals with the banks direct?
And I feel like a good point here, Ryan, that you normally make is that there's all sorts of different ways to get deals out there. And we try to get deals as many ways as possible, especially with the prices continuing to rise. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you've got to find all kinds of methods of getting deals. And realtors are just one of those methods.
Yep. Yeah, it really depends on how the deal, approaches us. Is if, like, here lately, we've been working with one realtor for all the properties that we buy on the MLS. But I mean, if it's one of those kind of like through the grapevine type deals, then whoever brings us the deal is likely who we work with. We don't. Our biggest concern is getting a lot of great deals. And the reason that we work with one realtor mainly is because he regularly brings us very solid deals. So a lot of people, I mean, I get probably 1 or 2 text messages a day from wholesalers or realtors or whatnot, that people that just want to know what my buying criteria is so that they could go out and like find deals for us. And, copy and paste the same answer each time. And very seldom does anyone actually follow up with a deal that fits that buying criteria. So since he has gone above and beyond so consistently for so long, we just, we used to only reach out to the listing agents whenever we found a property on the MLS, but he's been handling that for us now because he's just, again, so persistent, so helpful. And actually, I mean, using one realtor for everything has also taken a little bit of paperwork or admin stress out of the equation. He kind of handles it all. How do management companies eat up the profits? Top 3 reasons. And from the start, how can I prevent that when hiring them?
Some management companies, the one that Ryan mentioned earlier, they'll actually charge you just for driving by the house.
Yeah.
And charge you an additional fee for dropping off any sort of paperwork to the tenant.
I think your market is likely a little bit different. I would contribute a lot of the property management issues that I'm familiar with to the fact that when I first started, the average rent was like $700, $750, somewhere in there. So the 10%, the standard 10% fee, you're talking about $70 to $75 per month. That doesn't get you a lot of manpower or a lot of time spent on your property. Like if you're paying somebody $20 an hour, $25 an hour, you're looking at 3 hours a month is what somebody could profitably spend on your property. Anytime over that, starts putting them in the negative. So the way to kind of correct from that is by nickel and diming the owner, right? So it's one of those business models where it seems like the answer is quantity, but as soon as you achieve an appropriate quantity to make a good living, now you're suffering a massive bandwidth issue. And then you have to hire somebody, which then eats into your profits. So it's just this thing where you're always looking to take on more, and the margins just keep getting thinner and thinner. So the only way to really combat that is by charging overrides on, it's not uncommon to have like a 10% override on all of the materials and labor and anything that ever needs to be done on the property, trip fees. Like the one management company had like a $45 minimum service call, and I was once charged $45 to like deliver a piece of mail to a property, and it wasn't even an urgent thing. Like it should not have been mailed or delivered. I don't remember exactly what it was, but in your market with the prices that you're in, I think that probably won't be as problematic, because at like $2,500 per month per door, your management fee was going to be like $750 per month. Well, that buys you 10 times the amount of hours. So now you're talking about potentially being able to spend 15, 20 hours per month on your property to make sure everything goes well, which is an absolute game changer. So generally, when I make the case against property management companies, I preface it or try to frame it around the fact that I do not think the business model of property management in C or D class areas is a sustainable business model. But the A to B areas, I think it's probably pretty profitable. Like the main realtor that we use, though, just speaking of, I mean, he's got one of the units here in downtown that he rents out for, I think it's like $3 or $4 grand per month is what they pay to live there. And I mean, he could spend a lot of time charging 10% just to carry after that one single family unit. So the property management issue is all about the management fee and how much you're able to take away from that.
Yep. And I would also ask the management company about their relationships with the local contractors, because if they can get your property fixed quickly if something bad were to happen, then that would be a plus. And if they could save you money on flooring or painting or whatever, then that would also be a plus.
Can you get a loan for the property and rehab on a pre-foreclosure home on the county website? Excuse me. Whew.
I would say not through conventional means.
I have one video about financing a foreclosure.
You could get private money lined up.
Yeah, but generally traditional banks, or whatever you want to call them, they access to the interior is the real big thing. And then if it's not immediately habitable, it's probably out of their appetite.
Yeah. Because even a renovation loan would be difficult, and you wouldn't have the time to do that on a pre-foreclosure.
All right, 19 people on. We're an hour and 40 minutes in. This is a good session. Any questions you might have, go ahead and post them in the chat. Happy to answer them to the best of our ability. And also, if you're on, please go ahead and join the Reddit, reddit.com/r/talkrealestate. That's a subreddit that we created to kind of continue this Q&A throughout the week, so that any questions you guys might have, we can just go ahead and answer them. Because I've gotten a lot of feedback saying, they want to ask a question, but they're either not able to make it to the live stream, or when they do, they've already forgotten what they're going to ask. So that'll be pretty fun. All right. Going back to this, I also just think that, as far as greatest concerns go, I think it's probably in human nature just to get ourselves worked up or worry about things that are outside of our control. And one of the things that we just try to constantly reassure ourselves in is the fact that we are going to remain agile. We're going to continue adapting to changes in the market. We're always going to be thinking through how to be profitable and in any market condition. So again, anytime, any place, there's an investor out there being profitable somehow. Have you sold any of your properties and held onto the note? Not yet.
No. The reason we would sell a property is because we want the cash on hand right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if it made sense, we might be interested in holding the note. But I mean, we'd just as soon keep the property as a rental.
Yep. We have sold one property so far, and we currently have another one listed at the moment.
2.
We have 2 listed?
Yeah, the 4 unit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the one in Belmont.
Yep. Yep. We sure do. It's growing, though. I don't know much about growing a Reddit channel, but I have faith that it's going to happen. What recommended reading do you suggest? Oh, well, happy you ask. I have an entire list of books. So one of the things when I was first, so if you're not familiar with my story at all, I was in law enforcement for quite some time. And it was really important for my wife that it was really important for both of us that she be a stay-at-home mom. And just on that law enforcement salary that I was on, I wasn't able to do it. So it made me really frustrated. I kind of felt like, I just couldn't provide for my family the way that I wanted to. And I really didn't like that. So, you heard all these people saying, if you just read enough books, you'll understand and it'll make you successful. And I started reading a lot of books, and I told myself that I was going to read one book per day until I could figure out how to get out of the situation I was in, how to make more money. And, when I was first starting out, I was just like, man, you hear all of these people that say, read, but they never tell you what to read. I was like, I would love to have a list of just books that these people have read that are saying this thing. So I decided pretty early on that I was going to do my very best to keep track of all of the books that I've read. And I slack on this a lot because it's never at the forefront of my mind to keep this list updated. But here's a link to the Excel spreadsheet that I kind of make sure that I always keep updated. I update it probably once a quarter, maybe. And again, I would say it's probably got about 75-80% of the books that I've read. But yeah, those are all the books that I've read to get to where I am now. And I think, you have to keep, when it comes to reading books, you have to keep a healthy level of learning and action. So I think you reach a point, my general rule of thumb that I heard somewhere that I think is accurate is if I'm looking at starting an insurance agency or something like that, I tried to find, and again, the more specific you get, the smaller amount of books available are. But I want to read 10 to 15 books about that subject before I take any action on that. And that was just a good rule of thumb for me, so that it allowed me to circumvent some of the easy trial and error stuff. It allowed me some additional insight. It just allows me to be more prepared. So if you're looking to get started in real estate investing, it doesn't even matter what type of real estate investing it is. Just read 10 to 15 books on the topic of real estate investing. And by the end of that, you're going to be borderline an expert on whatever topic it is that you're reading about. And then probably, especially if it's something as broad as just real estate investing, you're going to get some books about apartment complexes, maybe some syndication, some smaller multifamily, some 2 to 4 unit stuff, and then some single family stuff, some commercial buildings. And in that, whatever piques your interest, whatever sounds the best, whatever you think you're going to like the most, as you continue reading those books, get more and more specific. So if you read just a broad book that talks about all aspects of real estate investing, and then you realize that you love commercial real estate, well, the next couple of books, just read all about commercial real estate investing. And, by the end of that, you'll have a pretty solid idea of where you're headed and what the appropriate course of action for you to take is. And then, of course, all of the while you're consuming this information, start figuring out where would you find other people interested in this stuff, and how can you associate yourself with them. So I have often said on this channel, paying for actual real estate courses, almost any courses really, not just real estate, I think is probably a bad idea. I think anything that you are interested in learning, you can likely read, but moreover, getting yourself surrounded by like-minded people after similar things is one of the most powerful things that you can do in your life. That's why, we started the Seek Wisdom group. It is a paid course, of course. A paid mastermind group. It's one meeting a week, but I mean, for the most part, everybody in there is on the same accord, after the same things, trying to improve, how they are as a husband, how they are as an investor, their financial position. It's really a fantastic group that's worthwhile. So that's my.
Yeah, and I would say if you are going to pay for something, then what kind of network are you going to get out of it?
Yeah.
Because the information is out there right now, and most of it in a free manner. And I mean, books are relatively cheap for the amount of information that they can pass along to you.
Absolutely. Can I do an appraisal and inspection before putting a distressed house under contract?
If you wanted to.
No, I wouldn't. No. I wouldn't.
Yeah. And if you're for lending purposes, the lender will not accept whatever appraisal you get done, because it's got to go from the lender to the appraisal management coordinator to the appraiser, is how that chain of events works. So they wouldn't be able to use whatever appraiser or appraisal that you found.
Yeah. However, Irene, you can use PropStream, and you could run your own comps. So here's the link on the screen to a 7-day free trial to PropStream. And I would say that's one of the main ways that I interact with PropStream is by running my own comps, so that when I find a property that I'm interested in, it gives me, a 90% accurate understanding of what homes in that area are selling for.
And I mean, sometimes we'll run the comp report too, because it prints out a really nice report. Mm-hmm. And we'll give that to our private money investors so they're comfortable with what we're doing too. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to take down this house in cash, then yeah, sure, it might make sense for you to make you feel more comfortable about the purchase. Mm-hmm. But if you're planning on getting a loan on the back end, then I don't think it would help out with that loan.
Yeah. 37 says having a partner and surrounding yourself around people in real estate is crucial. Seek wisdom. There we go. Yeah. 3747 is a proud member of the Seek Wisdom Mastermind. However, what roles do your spouses play? Do they go over deals or provide an emotional intelligence?
They provide emotional support for us, because running a business can be difficult and challenging. Every entrepreneur is going to run into problems at some point, Yeah. So the emotional support piece, I think, is a vital role that that our spouses play.
Yeah. Just earlier this week, I told my wife, I went home. I had one of the rough days, one of the low days on the spectrum of the entrepreneurial up and downs. And I was like, today has made me want to sell everything I own, all of the businesses. And all I want to do is sit at a desk, work a W-2, and have everyone tell me what to do all day. Now, of course, that was a very fleeting thought, but that's how it felt for a little bit. So, yeah, I lean on my wife a lot. She's an incredible lady. At first, when we started out, when we had a handful of properties and one child, she would go around to all the properties with me. And if she said she didn't like the area or she didn't like the house, I really wanted at first all of our properties to be ones that we would live in ourselves. I still feel that way, but now, we've got 4 kids under 4, and it's tough to fit some of these kids in these homes. So it's hard to imagine that. And, my wife's schedule at this point, with all the kids, the nap schedules, the meal prepping, she doesn't necessarily have time to do much on the real estate side of things. However, if those factors weren't there, then she would play a pretty big role in the company, I presume. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for the list. Millionaire Mindset, Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad are top 5 must reads. I agree. But also, there's a book that I would add to that list, and that's The Wealthy Gardener. I would read that book. If you're already a fan of those, then I would read The Wealthy Gardener. I think The Wealthy Gardener is hands down probably the best book written, probably in the past couple of decades, about this stuff.
And one that I would recommend too, it's a little bit different, but a lot of people looking to get into real estate, you need sales and negotiating skills. So Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold, is one of the books that I would recommend too. So Because the sales mindset can be a lot different than just a typical
For sure.
job mindset.
Super advice on what to read and why. Thanks, Earl Johnson. Man, I like this. Thank you. Is there anything noting which books you found more useful? No, there isn't. For example, I work in marketing and have read 50, 60 plus books on the topic. Only 8 or 9 I would recommend, as many are derivative and a handful were just cash grabs from big names. I think that's a good point. I would say that book is probably about 70 or 80% of the books that I read that I found some sort of value in. Even if, you're right. A lot of like cash grab books or a lot of books that were clearly written for like marketing purposes. Some of the stuff is just repetitive, like to build personal brand and stuff. But I would say a lot of things have at least one takeaway. For a while, I tried to keep track from like my biggest takeaway from the book, but I just really ultimately started feeling like I wasn't doing justice to in that section of the spreadsheet. So I ultimately just took it out because, I completely agree with you. I don't think I included many books that would fit that kind of stuff. So, and plus, reading and just consuming the same material over and over again, I think it builds confidence. So I would say like probably if you read those 8 or 9 books and didn't experience the other 30 or 40 that you felt were just like repetitive or things that you've already learned, I think that's kind of just like part of how our brains work in the learning processes. Once we start, the first, however many that you find good, like they might have a little bit of a new twist on the things, but a lot of the times it's the same information delivered over and over again, especially in an industry as old as real estate investing. So I feel a lot more confident in my own understanding, and I feel a little bit more like an expert when I am reading a book and it just feels like a lot of repetitive stuff. At that point, it's just like, okay, my brain has really learned and I have a really good understanding of this topic because I could have written the past 30 pages. All right. Well, 10 o'clock, got 19 people on. This has been tons of fun. 21 people on. Welcome to people as I was speaking. That was fun. All right. So any other questions? Just go ahead and post them in the chat. And if not, I think we might start going ahead and wrapping this up. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we covered a lot of great material today.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you ever read the Bible, especially the parable and the talents? Yeah, I do. When I'm in a really good mood and I feel like making a joke and somebody references the talents and like the parable and like, which one are you? It's like, well, I want to be the one handing out the talents. That's outside the point of that.
The master going on the trip and handing your 3 servants bags of gold and saying, do great things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We're both Christian, Dapper D.
Yeah. Try to read the Bible 5 mornings per week, 4 to 5 mornings per week, about 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Mm-hmm. All right. And to that point, like, especially on that parable, like the one that just like kind of hit it and did nothing. It just like fully and very well embodies like just the scarcity mindset. And one of the things that I think about a lot is like, I heard somebody say it. I don't remember what the context was, but it was something business related. And it's just like funny how the tighter you squeeze something, the more of it slips through your fingers. And that's something that I try to keep top of mind because when business is done right, there's enough to go around for everybody, right? So there's no sense in us trying to we don't want to overspend on anything by any means, but at the same time, paying everybody appropriately, fairly for what they do, even above the fair rate. Again, business is a fantastic thing, and when it's done right, no scarcity around.
Yeah.
made it to Saturday. Good morning from Guam. I hope it was a good one, man.
Yep, enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, Zoya, welcome back. Happy to see you here. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and call it a day. So thank you, everyone, for being on here. Please be sure to check out PropStream, the Reddit, and if you're interested in the mastermind, go ahead and watch that video. The Seek Wisdom Mastermind group, it's available on the YouTube channel. Oh, also, please download the rental calculator app if you want to, calculate the returns on rental property. So it's a rental calculator plus a loan calculator, and it also has links to the books read list. I think at the bottom there's like a closed advertisement space. I'm not accepting advertisement money for that space. It's just things that I believe in, that I'm personally promoting. So there's that list of books read, the Seek Wisdom Mastermind, and I think PropStream. The app. No, the app is the app. That's what it's on. So there's no link to the app because we've already downloaded it. Oh, all right. It's on the App Store. I think
it's only on Apple.
Yeah, it's on
right now, but the Google's coming soon.
Yeah, the developer said that it's in the process of being put on the Play Store. I guess that process is a little bit more tedious than the Apple one, or maybe it was forgotten. But he's working on it now. Either way, I'm currently looking for property insurance for a 100-year-old home. Any advice? No insurer that will cover it so far in Jacksonville, Florida. Oof.
Man, good luck. Jacksonville, Florida. Well, I'll give you the name of a guy. Ryan Locke is his name. And I think his email is ryan@lockeinsurance.com.
Is there an E?
Yes, there's an E.
Locke.
Yeah, Ryan at LOCKE insurancegroup.com. I'll even give you this guy's phone number too.
I won't type that in the chat.
Yeah, it's 904-553-8680. He should be able to take care of you, and if he can't, he'll know somebody that can. That's what I like about working with brokers or agents instead of going direct. Because brokers, at least on the mortgage side, I work with 20 different lenders. So if one lender says no, I got 19 more that might have the product that would fit what you need. And same thing on the insurance side. I mean, if you were to go direct to, say, a State Farm, they can only offer their one product that State Farm offers. But if you go to an insurance agent that works with 15 different insurance companies, then they've got 15 different sets of products to offer you. So you might be able to find one that'll insure a 100-year-old house.
All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it. And next Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, I'll be right here to answer any of the real estate questions that you have. And in the meantime, go ahead and join the Reddit community and post any questions that you might have there. It's called Talk Real Estate. And thanks. I will see you next week.